Primary day in Maine is coming up. It's on June 11th, and one of the contests taking shape that day is for the Republican congressional race in the 2nd District. There are two candidates in that race, Mike Sobolewski and Austin Theriault. Austin Theriault is a first-term state representative from Fort Kent, a former NASCAR driver, and yes, indeed, a candidate for the 2nd District congressional seat. He's with us here on 207. Thanks for coming in. It's good to have you here.
It's great to be here. Thanks.
Let's begin with the idea of going to Washington. Even members of the House say that the House right now is dysfunctional. It is not working as it should. Why do you want to go to Washington and serve in Congress?
Well, it's a good question. I mean, if you ask people on the street, if you went outside the studio and said, what do you think about Washington? Do you think they're doing a good job? I think it's 20% of people approve. But that doesn't mean we should give up on the idea that we can get Washington moving again. The fact that we should be working together. I think we're in a very tough time right now. Our country seems to be divided. But it's about time that regular people, regular folks who have maybe come from business background like myself, get involved in politics, because there's never a better time than now. I think that time is running out for us to get our country turned around. But the fact that it's not going well doesn't mean that we can't get it turned around, and that's what I'm committed to doing.
Let's talk about one of the big stories that came out this winter, which was the storms that hammered the Maine coast and caused so much damage and destruction, millions and millions of dollars worth. Scientists say this is in part caused by climate change. Rising ocean levels are something that we are going to see more of in the future, and that the problem is going to get worse, not better. My question to you, what specifically would you like to see done to address climate change?
Well, not what's going on right now. So I understand the climate's changing. We're seeing the storms, and we're going to have to address how to make sure we protect the coast from that. But that being said, we see from the left them doing things like stopping natural gas expansion. Natural gas is a cleaner form of energy than regular petroleum products. So I think if we're looking at that, we have to make it a step-by-step process. We can't go from A to Z, because when we go from A to Z, like electric vehicles, it disproportionately hurts people in rural Maine. And I also think that if you look at Maine, the amount of greenhouse gases that we put out compared to California, compared to China and India, is very, very low. So if we're going to change the climate or look to reduce the greenhouse gases, let's go after these other countries that are not following the laws, not cleaning up their act. I think that if we're doing it on the backs of poor people here and working class people in Maine, it's not acceptable to me. I do think the climate's changing.
I just want to jump in, because give me one specific proposal that you would make, one positive, one constructive step.
Well, what about tariffs, right? We talk about tariffs and free trade. Well, we can make sure if a product is coming in from China or India and it's using, child labor or labor that's not fair, and it's dirty energy that they're using, we can make sure we tax that product coming into the United States.
Let me ask the question another way. What would you ask of Americans? What should they be doing to address climate change?
Once again, I mean, it's an individual choice that people should be able to make. If they want to buy an electric car, that's their choice. This idea of electric mandates, to me, is unacceptable. I think it goes in the face of people being able to make choices for their own families. If they live in the city, maybe an electric vehicle works for them. But if they come from Aroostook County and they have to drive to Portland for a medical appointment, I wouldn't expect somebody to do that. And it's disappointing that the Biden administration and some of the bills that Jared Golden supported moved us in that direction.
You have said that you, if elected to Congress, are pledged to not raise taxes. You know how enormous the federal debt is right now, and getting bigger all the time. The federal debt is something on the order of $34 trillion, more than 100,000 for every man, woman, and child in this country. So if you're not going to raise taxes, then the only way to address the debt is through spending cuts. Where specifically would you cut spending?
Well, you and I both remember what happened in the Middle East. We spent trillions of dollars in the Middle East, and we didn't really get anything for it. The Middle East is still in chaos. Those are examples of spending that I think we need to pull back on.
Let's talk about looking forward, though, not past spending, but looking forward. If you get to Washington next year, looking forward, where would you cut?
Well, don't you think that some of these federal bureaucracies have grown, in some cases 2 and 3 times the way they were even 10 or 20 years ago? I think we need to look at the Washington bureaucracy and make sure that we do something like zero-based budgeting to make sure that they're starting from zero every time the budget cycle starts. I want them to explain to us why they need the money, rather than them come to us and say, hey, we started from here the year before, this is what we're expecting from here on out.
One specific program, just one, where would you cut?
Well, I think it's very difficult to look and say we want to make sure we're going to raise taxes on Americans. That's like you said, it's a non-starter for me. That being said, let's look at like the Department of Education, those agencies that spend a lot of money and we don't actually see the results on the ground.
We're conducting this interview the day after Memorial Day. It's perhaps the most somber holiday on the American calendar. And yesterday, Donald Trump posted a message on his website, and it started, "Happy Memorial Day to all, including the human scum that is working so hard to destroy our once great country." You've been endorsed by Donald Trump. You're very excited about that and very proud of that. When you read that message, hear that message addressed to the human scum working so hard to destroy our once great country, what is it about Trump's judgment and temperament that appeals to you?
Well, I said the country's divided right now. And I think if I'm going to represent Maine 2nd District in Congress, I'm going to be somebody that can bring people together. I've said that from the beginning. I look at the folks in the St. John Valley, Democrats, Independents, and Republicans who are tired of the way Washington works.
Do you see Trump as a unifier or a divider?
I think Trump is somebody who can get our economy back on track, somebody that can secure the border. I came from the St. John Valley, and obviously I didn't come from New York City, so I don't talk the same as him. But at the end of the day, we have to make changes. I don't think Biden is going to take our country forward in the next 4 years. I actually think he's going to take us backwards. We've seen people can't afford their groceries, record inflation. Look at what's going on at the border. People are going to be making a decision when they go to the ballot box, right? And sometimes it's not the perfect decision for them. But there's people that are going to say, look, I saw what Biden did to our country. I think Trump is going to put us in a better direction, and that's why we're supporting him, and that's why I'm glad to have his support.
All right, we got to let that be the last word. Austin Theriault, thank you so much for coming in. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Again, Austin Theriault is one of the 2 Republican candidates in the 2nd District Republican primary. Primary day, June 11th. More information on his campaign in the 207 section of our app or website. And stay with us. We'll be back with more of 207 in just a moment.